And after a thoroughly entertaining race yesterday, the ingredients are all in place for more of the same today. The fastest two cars from qualifying start from the last two rows of the grid, and the championship-leading Aston Martin starts in 6th, just one place back from where they won the race in Abu Dhabi. John, it's a wonderful sight down there on the grid.
To me, it's a miracle. It's the first time I think I've been to this wonderful Zolder circuit and had 3 absolutely glorious days. Not a cloud in the sky, and I will certainly put it down as one of my greatest memories of visiting Zolder.
Yeah, it has been an absolutely stunning weekend. The track temperature now 33.8, a little warmer than it was perhaps yesterday when they raced. Low humidity, 21.7 air temperature. It really is a glorious weekend here at Zolder, and it's nice to see plenty of families enjoying their visit to the track. So there's a look at the Zolder circuit as the red indicator weaves us around this fairly narrow but definitely demanding Zolder circuit.
Old school, but all the better for it. Lots of sections of this circuit, Sector 2 to Sector 3. That's the bit that reminds me of so many great racetracks around the world that I've raced on, and I really do wish that we'd have more circuits where there's atmosphere, character, personality. That's what's lacking in many of the modern racetracks.
Yeah, there's certainly an intimacy to this track that you don't get at a lot of the modern circuits, and as I say, the fans really lapping it up. A lot of people camping here over the weekend and making the most of this lovely sunshine. And there's the scene just down through the paddock. As you can see, a lot of people are around. There's a little glamour village down there as well to entice the ladies who are being invited to join the weekend's events as well. So that's all part and parcel of the race event here at Zolder.
The other thing that's most notable is the total access that the fans, and believe me, Belgian race fans, and of course those coming in from the Netherlands to the north, from Germany, from the south, to see the GT1 championship race, they come with their autograph books. They are prolific autograph hunters. Photographs that I've had taken to me, I didn't even know I looked like that 40 years ago.
Yeah, it is amazing the pictures they come up with and want autographs. There's a happy smiling Mike Hazeman's on the grid. The Corvette ran very well yesterday, and they ended up with a strong second place finish. Very pleased with that. Circuit he knows well, as I mentioned. He's won 3 24-hour races. Now here's some of the grid girls dressed up in some designer gear by Nicky van Ketz, who is in fact a Flemish dress designer and has boutiques in Hasselt, just down the road. We were staying in Hasselt over this weekend. In fact, Antwerp and Hasselt are the two sort of centres of the fashion industry here in Belgium, and that's all part and parcel of this glamour village that they've introduced for this weekend.
Ben, this is another string to your already very full bow that you're actually so knowledgeable about women's attire.
Well, I'm learning all the time, John. Now, as the fans get ready for the start of this one, we've got the parades and things just going on at the moment, and everybody just getting a different vantage point. It's a lovely viewing point just over the top of the pits as well here, actually. You get to run from one side to the other, and you can see them down the start-finish straight and then up the back straight. As you said before, John, this is an island. The pits are basically an island between two straights on this circuit.
Yeah, so it is physically quite a small circuit, although it's 2.5 miles or 4 kilometres in length, 16 turnings, 16 corners. We call them corners 1 to 16. There are names for some of them, mainly of famous previous Belgian race drivers like Lucien Bianchi, Jackie Ickx, to mention 2. Others are called after, well, the Canal 1 and Canal 2. Of course, the major European route canal flows just literally by the side of the racetrack.
So we move our way up through the first couple of rows, up towards the front. The pace car, the lead car, is the road-going Nissan GTR that will set them off on the formation lap in just a moment. It's a multicoloured and multi-capacity grid as well, although we gathered that there is a problem for the number 6 Lamborghini. It's not starting this race because apparently they had an oil pump problem.
Well, the number 5 car also had a problem this morning, and I spoke to Carl Denlinger, and he was hoping that they were able to rectify something between the engine and the gearbox. Had come apart or come loose, had damaged the flywheel. They were hoping to repair the flywheel or change the flywheel, not change the engine, but they really weren't going to know whether that fix had been a permanent one or not until really they went out of the pit lane on their reconnaissance lap and onto the grid.
So away the cars go on their formation lap. Let's just run through that grid for you. Basseng and Hazeman's are on the front row. Lamborghini versus Corvette. On the second row, Aston Martin versus Lamborghini, Alex Muller and Carl Wendlinger. Then it's Ford and Aston with Maxime Martin and Clivio Piccioni. On row 4, we've got Lucas Laura in the Nissan and Max Nielsen, and missing in the Lamborghini. He should be there, but he's not. Rossi and Hohenadel are together on row 5. On row 6, there's the Nissan of Jamie Campbell-Walter, another Nissan of Ricardo Zonta. The two Belgian racing Fords of Pavlovic and Besch are next up. Then at the back, some very fast cars. Darren Turner, Peter Dunbreck, and at the back itself, the pole winners yesterday, Dominic Schwager with Mark Enrici, who was front runner in last year's championship, having switched from a Corvette to a Ford. So we're going to have to keep an eye up front. We'll also have to keep an eye on those guys in the back and see whether they can move up the order at all. Tricky around this Zolder circuit though, John. If you're going to overtake here, as we saw yesterday, there are only a couple of key places, aren't there?
Yes, and you've got to be absolutely alongside the car, be it on the outside or be it on the inside, but ideally it's down the inside. The straights here in Zolder are not particularly long. It puts a massive premium on braking, but also on the left side tyres, particularly the front. The other issue with tyres here is that the temperature will rise, and everybody will start with relatively low temperatures to try and compensate for the pressure rise, and therefore hopefully get it right. It's a bit of a black art and a bit of like sort of stick your finger, lick your finger, stick it in the wind to find out the direction. Nobody really has got it quite worked out, and what might feel good this morning in the warm-up, it's now basically 5 hours ago, will be possibly quite different now with the track and ambient temperatures much higher.
Yes, and the cars being so evenly balanced at the moment in terms of performance, just tiny differences in tyre pressure can be all the difference to turn a bad handling car into a good one. They're up at the top end of the circuit now, so they'll start to head back down towards us again. You can see the sort of grass edges here, but there's not much runoff. You've got concrete wall on either side, and it's a track that you've got to treat with respect.
It's a great circuit, and I wish we could see more of this on racetracks. You've got some runoff, but not a great deal, and it's grass, so that's not really going to slow you down. So it hopefully will make drivers understand and respect that racing isn't about making a mistake and having acres of runoff to correct.
Cars heading down towards the final chicane, the Jackie X chicane. We're going to see that pace car head off in just a moment. They come through the last chicane as we prepare for the second championship race of 2011. It's Lamborghini versus Corvette up at the front as we get ready for the start. Let's hope it's a clean one at the first corner. It's very tightly packed and is squeezing right through in the middle. The Corvette makes a very good start. Oh, we've got a crash Nissans. Two together in the wall. Westbrook and Zolder, Dunbreck and Zolder, I think, have connected one another. Another car, the Corvette, also involved. No, it might have been the 21. It was Jamie Campbell-Walter, not the Dunbreck car, but it was definitely Ricardo Zonta's Nissan out already.
Well, something spurred that all off, literally, as the cars took the light on the run down into turn 1. It caused one car to turn 90 degrees. I don't know whether it was a Nissan hitting a Nissan, or certainly the black Corvette of Rossi and Camara was also involved.
Yeah, leading the race, the pole position man, Marc Bassin, got ahead of the Corvette in the first corner. So slotting into third, Alex Muller in the Aston Martin. It was very compressed field at the start. There's Zonta, Ricardo Zonta. What a miserable weekend the Brazilian pairing and the Nissan have had.
And the two Belgian Ford GTs, the smoke coming from the back of that Aston, and a big lock-up going into the Villeneuve chicane. Couldn't see which car it was.
The car of Jamie Campbell-Walter also off. That was the other Nissan involved in that, so Peter Dunbreck's car still in. The lead Nissan, though, is I think the car of Lucas Laura. We'll check that in just a moment. I don't know, actually, just watching them flash past. We'll check that as they come past us first time around. Lucas Laura in that car still going well. There is Michael Rossi's Corvette, sadly, well down the back of the pack. That ended up involved in the incident. Just trying to see if the safety car might be called or not. I don't think it is.
I think everybody got off track, although there was a lot of damage on the left-hand side of the racetrack. A lot of carbon fibre shards in the wall, but that's well off the racing line, and the marshals have, you can see there, the marshals telling everybody to get over to the right-hand side of the track to ensure that all the carbon that is on the track does not come into contact with their tyres.
So Marc Bassin leads the race. Hazelman's in the Corvette is in second place. Third is Alex Muller. Fourth, Carl Wendlinger in the Lamborghini. Fifth is Maxime Martin in the Ford GT. Clivio Piccioni's in sixth place. Lucas Laura's in seventh. Andrea Piccini's in eighth place. Then Mark Henrici has moved up to ninth from the back of the grid in his Ford. That was a bit wide in his Ford. Henrici going well, but that was Henrici just putting a wheel over the edge as we got a view back from the Hexis Aston Martin.
Well, what another breathless opening lap we've had to the start of a GT1 event, but everybody now kind of settling down as they go on to their second lap.
Yeah, on board the number 22 Nissan. Now this is the Peter Dumbreck car, so it did survive that first lap okay, but he's got himself behind one of the Belgian Fords at the moment, down in 11th place. So
it's
still
Pavlovich.
Yeah, it's Pavlovich in front of him. Still, Dumbreck won't be too disappointed with this. He's managed to get through the first lap. Now, which one is that? Is that the number 37 car? I think it is, yes, it's the 37 car that started from the back. Their miserable season really continues. They've had horrible starts to every single race, and there it is, and once again it hasn't made it past the first lap, and I think that's actually every single race, all 4 races, the number 37 car has not completed the first lap properly. Back of the group, by the way, Darren Turner's at the back of that group, so there's Enrique Bernaldi. He can't really believe what happened to his teammate. There's Thomas Eng, a bit happier because his car's currently in 3rd place and looking, so he's contemplating that. Wendlinger is behind, and then we've got Maxime Martin there. The Belgian Racing Fords now split by Peter Dumbreck in the Nissan. He's trying to work his way past another one if possible.
Alex Muller, 3rd place in the Aston Martin, trying very hard to find a way around Mike Hasemans. Yesterday, Mike Hasemans, I thought, was a bit too cooperative when it came to being overtaken. Certainly left gaps for people to fill. Now being a little bit more defensive with the Aston right on his tail.
So Marc Basseng with the advantage at the moment, winning the qualifying race yesterday, as you say. Hasemans just playing it carefully, perhaps in 2nd position. Long way to go. Jamie Campbell-Walter walks back up the pit lane. What a miserable weekend. A shake of his head, he can't believe it, doesn't really want to talk to anybody. He and David Brabham, of course, both out of the race before they even got to the first corner.
And that team manager Nigel Stepney is not going to be impressed. Let's watch again and see the 2 Nissans. Well, one's in the middle of the track, the other somebody who's one way. Well, just didn't pick it up in that. Here, another view from
Try
the
and
camera.
see. Yeah, they were very bunched up. A little bit of movement around.
Somebody hit the back of Zolder,
yeah,
and just literally slammed him, turned him 90 degrees into the sister Nissan. So somebody tagged the left rear corner of that car, and literally there was nothing that Zolder could do.
No, absolutely, just turned round into the car of Jamie Campbell-Walter, and then as they came through the first corner, that's sorted it all out, and Basseng had managed to stay in front, hadn't he, from pole of the Corvette. The Corvette had a good start of Hasemans, but Hasemans was sensible. He didn't sort of try too hard. This is there was another view.
It's difficult to see. I don't know whether it was the Corvette of Rossi or not hit it, but certainly something caught the left rear corner, and there was no opportunity. Ricardo Zonta had no chance at all. He just turned 90 degrees, speared into his teammate, and did a severe amount of damage to that Nissan.
There was again, that was where look how quickly it slams across.
It's difficult to see.
Yeah.
I can't see another car hitting that. Now, possibly one of the Belgian Fords, you can just see that coming into view. Whether that was the car that might have been directly under the rear wing of that Nissan.
Now
hard to tell.
We've got a bit of a battle on our hands here, because trying to get down the inside is the Ford of Henrici, and he's done it. And in fact, it looks as though they might lose another place there in the Aston Martin. No, he's held on.
They had to back out. I mean, you'll be penalised if you run too wide over those curbs. But that was a difficult part of the track to get past. Forceful pass by the Ford, made it stick.
Yeah, good effort there by Marc Henrici. And also looking at Maxime Martin. I think it was Maxime Martin just getting past Clivio Piccioni. I think Clivio Piccioni's dropped back a little bit. Let's just check this on the next lap. Piccioni's still up there, so we'll check the positions as they come through this time. It's still Marc Basseng who leads the race. Got a useful little advantage over the Corvette of Marc Hasemans. Alex Muller in the Aston is still in 3rd, Wendlinger in 4th. Yeah, Piccioni's still there in 5th. 6th place for Maxime Martin. And then it's Lucas Lohr. There is Marc Henrici still battling away now with Peter Dumbreck.
Yeah, Peter Dumbreck clearly pushing hard, trying to go look up the inside into turn 2. Gets alongside, but can he get it done? He's not. He's tagged the Ford, and around he goes. Contact with the Belgian Ford, and that is further damage to a Nissan, and a Ford GT is out.
Oh, would you believe it? Dumbreck and Westbrook's weekend has just got even worse as Dumbreck tried to go for the move there.
That might be a safety car if they can't get that Nissan removed, or the Ford further away from the corner, the exit of turn 2. Well, look, broken suspension on that Nissan, but it's drivable. The Ford's still in the gravel.
Everybody fighting hard for position. Take another look at this, John. He goes for the move into turn 2.
Yeah, it looks at this point fully legitimate side by side, but the Ford comes down on the Nissan. The Nissan goes around, and the Belgian Ford clobbers the back of it, and tears the rear suspension out of the Nissan, and tears some of the suspension out of the Ford as well.
So that was Mark Henrici that there was the contact with between him and Peter Dumbreck. Well, it will be looked at, I'm sure, but it's the number 9 car of Vanina Ick. She's not in the car at the moment. It's her teammate Matthias Besch, and there's Dumbreck still limping. Look at it, crabbing.
No, he's got to pull this car off. It is not reasonable to drive around at this pace with a car in that condition. Find a space.
On-board view here.
Okay, up the inside. Now, to me, there you see the Ford. To me, the Nissan was sufficiently far in the corner. The Ford just slammed across as if the Nissan wasn't there. Dumbreck was in position. He had the right to challenge for that corner, and the Ford should have provided more working space.
So Dumbreck, well, he's still struggling to get that car back, but that is bitterly disappointing for the guys that were sitting second in the points coming into this event, but they are not going to go away with any points now. They didn't score in the qualifying race. They will not have scored from the championship race either. Up front, though, Mark Basseng, look at the battle of a second. Alex Muller in the Aston Martin has a look at the Corvette. Couldn't quite make it happen into the chicane.
No, but it's just giving an indication to Mike Hazelmans that while everything has remained at the front, pretty much status quo, now here's going to be a problem. The Nissan is going to come into play. Can he get out of turn 9 quickly enough and avoid these cars, the lead group of cars coming through 10 and then into turn 11? He has. He's almost in fact pulled over and waited. Yeah, well, that's good news. So the leaders are unhindered as they come through there, but it's getting very tight up front. Basseng just stretching it a little bit over the Corvette of Hazelmans. Muller in third, Fendlinger in fourth in the Lamborghini. Fifth place, right behind him, is Clivio Piccioni, the race winner from Abu Dhabi, with lights ablaze. And again, like in Abu Dhabi, this lead group, John, is very, very close to one another, being brought up at the back by the first of the Nissans, that's Lucas Law. But what we saw in Abu Dhabi was the Hexis Aston Martin running in the same 5th place before the pit stops and coming out in the lead. So watch out for that Hexis team again, because they've got a car that could potentially take the lead at the pit stops. Well, they've got tremendous pit stop speed. They've got real time and motion study experts working for Hexis, but other teams are working on it as well. And in fact, Nissan claimed that they were doing comparable time pit stops to the Hexis team, but of course it didn't work out when it came to the final result. Milos Pavlovic still there. Let's try and get some reaction about what happened at the start of the race, and let's hear first from Ricardo Zolder.
Ricardo, an unfortunate incident there for you. It just hasn't been your weekend at all. Can you take us through what happened out there?
Not so easy. The first race yesterday, we had some tire problems where it was a puncture. I started in 12 today, and the Corvette just hit me so heavy. I spun in the middle of the straight, and I hit the other car off the. You can see the image now.
Just playing a replay now for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can you take us through?
Yeah, we crashed together there with the Corvette, car number 47, but he hit very heavy my car, and I spun 2 inside the corner.
Well, bitterly disappointing there. Thanks, Haley. And you could see them sort of bouncing and ricocheting off one another, John. Yeah, it was. I mean, we couldn't clearly see it, but now we get the replays and further analysis. It was the Corvette that tagged the back of the Brazilian Nissan, and it just literally turned it from going straight to going sharp left. And Jamie Campbell-Water, doing nothing wrong, became another victim of an incident on the start into turn 1. This time happened before turn 1, but nevertheless the outcome is 3 cars before we've completed 1 lap are out of this race, and substantial damage to those cars as well. So Mark Basseng continues to lead this group of 6 cars, 7 cars actually it is, with the Nissan bringing up the rear. Now if they all stay close to him, he's under threat from all of them at the pit stop, so he really needs to try and stretch out that advantage if at all possible. Into the pits, Peter Dumbreck has managed to get that very bent and battered Nissan home, but really no chance, I'm sure, of seeing that car back out. No, I mean, the car we pushed into the garage, he's brought it back. I mean, all he's done is get it back before the race ends and gives the crew a chance to look at the damage, assess what they need, and basically just pack it up and put it in the transporter and get out of here as soon as possible. Corvette still running well in second place here in the hands of Mike Hazelmans. Had problems with the brakes when he first went out after the pit stop yesterday, but doesn't look as though he's got any problems here, and he's going for it. Wave yellow flag. Wave yellow flag. Basseng dropped out, started on the throttle. Alex Muller, be careful. Don't put your car ahead. Wave yellow flag coming down into this is turn 12. They all really slowed down. Our safety car is coming out by the look of it. Yeah, I think this is no doubt to pull the cars that are around the racetrack. We've got the Lamborghini at turn 12. We've got the Ford GT, I think, still in the gravel up at turn 2. So it's a bit of a housekeeping issue here at Zolder. Just get the track cleared up and let's move forward
once the safety car goes back into the pits.
So that was almost a tricky incident when they all started to anchor up under safety car.
I think Mike Hazeman's thought all his breath. He said, come at one moment.
That's right. But meanwhile in the pits, can you believe it, for Peter Dunbrack on the left and Richard Westbrook on the right, it's all gone wrong for them in trying to move up the order, and Peter Dunbrack certainly seemed to have got his nose into turn 2, but the Ford came across, contact was made. The Ford is still running of Marc Kenerici, that's running in 8th place. The other Marc VDS car of Maxime Martin's running in a competitive 6th. It's part of that lead group, and in fact, of course, the lead group will now be all of the cars that are still running, because they've been closed up under safety car, and with about, 12 minutes until the pit window opens, it means that once again the pit stops are going to be absolutely crucial.
Well, another opportunity for the marshals to clear the track. Look at the damage to that's the Jamie Campbell water car. I mean, the bodywork damage to the 3 Nissans that are already out of this race, what with a little over 15 minutes running, it was just mind-blowing. I would hate to think the carbon fibre manufacturers, and they're going to be, well, they will obviously get the time, but it's just building back up your spare consignment to ensure that when they head off to the next round of this series in Portimao in Portugal, that you're fully kitted out.
So just the one Nissan of the 4 is in this race. It is the car of Lucas Lohr, running in 7th place at the moment. He'll be handed over later to Michael Groom, so Nissan will just be desperate that they get at least one car, well, it's the only car they've got left, to the finish in one piece. On board with the race leader at the moment, Mark Basseng, who's had a reasonably comfortable job of it so far. He's not been able to escape from the Corvette, but nonetheless he seems to be sort of maintaining a pretty consistent pace. Just still waiting now for the track to be cleared up, of course, before this field is released. Alex Muller, definitely a threat in 3rd in the Aston Martin. He'll be handing over to Thomas Enger later, of course. Car looks good, and it looked good in the latter part of the qualifying race, although it did just go off a little bit at the end. Don't forget, it did get a bash at the first of the beginning of the qualifying race, so I'm sure that affected it. Let's get some more reaction while we're under safety car now. Let's hear from those disappointed British crew of Peter Dunbrack and Richard Westbrook.
Peter, unfortunately, the race is over for you. Can you talk us through the incident?
Well, you know, it was a pretty difficult start, and I managed to keep good control of the car while all mayhem was kicking off around me. I was very careful in the first lap. I conceded position to a couple of cars, slower cars than myself, on the basis that, you know, better to be safe than sorry. But then I passed one of them clean, nice move the lap before, and then I pulled the same move on the other car, and in my eyes, I'm pretty much fully alongside him. I see him start to turn in. I tried to get out of it, but you know, he just takes his apex when I'm already there, and it you know, spins me around. I get collected by another car, and we're out of the race.
Thank you for talking to us.
Well, a very clear and concise description of exactly what happened, but an absolutely gutted Peter Dunbrack.
Yeah, and I think I totally concur, and that was my opinion when I saw the incident, as it actually occurred live, and there's part of the reason why we've still got the safety car on track, get the Ford GT onto the flatbed, get it back into the garage and back to safety. And you know, there's a certain point as a racing driver you've got to accept that if a car is in the position that Dunbrack's Nissan was, again the Ford just took the option of cutting across and into the Nissan. Now, whether he saw the car or not, I don't know. That's only a question that they can then answer at some point later when the race is over, or certainly when the driver comes in and hands over. Nevertheless, to me, the Nissan had taken the corner or was in such a position that the only way you could avoid an incident was for the Ford literally to magic itself into thin air and disappear. Well, right. Magic the Nissan to just disappear in the thin air, and it couldn't do that.
Let's take another look back, John, at the start of this race. We're still under safety car at the moment, and it was a very, very dramatic start that counted for 2 Nissans in one go. So let's just take another look at this once again, and we're looking in the middle of the grid, aren't we?
Yes, we are, and again, keeping an eye. 3 cars going side by side. The Corvette and the Nissan, the Brazilian Nissan, did have contact before. Then all of a sudden, the back of the Nissan, just the Brazilian Nissan, you can see, turns sharp left, captures the sister car of Jamie Campbell Water, and also the Corvette that did tip the back of the Brazilian Nissan also became involved.
Yeah, interesting. It was Zonta who makes the initial move across. We're just watching how it then developed through the first corner, and actually after that it wasn't so bad. It was Zonta who made the initial move across and actually sort of came touched the Corvette initially, and it's almost looked as though Rossi sort of retaliated to that there, and what it was, I don't know if it was retaliation or simply bouncing as much as anything.
Well, I don't know why a driver would engage in a manoeuvre like that. Clearly at the start it's very compacted, very close indeed. In fact, the precision Nissan went from the left of the track all the way across to the right, then came back. Now at what point the mentality of both the drivers changed or caused this incident to begin, but certainly the Brazilian, there you see it, just suddenly it's on the right hand side of the track, gets caught on the left rear. I mean, that's a typical police motorway manoeuvre to catch a criminal, not two racing drivers at the start of an hour's racing. Well, in fact, it was, yes.
That was interesting.
It was contact with the Nissan contact with the Corvette from the car on the left, which may have been a Nissan as well, that then threw the Corvette in. So now we're getting more and more views from different onboard cars. We can see that, in fact, the Corvette, Rossi, was not actually guilty of doing something. He was actually the victim of it as well. Yeah,
it was really just one of those things where they sandwiched into less space than there was for three cars. They all moved a little bit at the wrong moment, and that's what can so easily happen.
The trouble is, we're looking at it at a slightly lower speed. Real life speed, it happens with the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And when you're so close as the grid is, it is very, very close grid as the cars take the lights and then come down to turn one.
Well, Mike Haseman sits in second place, and Nicky Katzberg will take this car over in a while. Let's hear from him.
Nicky, you're waiting to get in the Corvette. Will you be able to take the Lamborghini?
I'm going to try my best. I think we can.
Thank you.
Well, short but sweet. He thinks he can, but he's getting all fired up for getting in the car now.
Well, I thought Nicky Katzberg did a really great job yesterday. In fact, I think he did a better job than his much more experienced teammate and almost team owner, Mike Haseman. So Katzberg did lead this race, and really, really impressive job from a young guy coming out of a rather unexpected route into GT1. I think he was running again, is that right?
That's right, yes. So impressive that he's got into a rear-wheel drive car like this and been so rapid straight away. But there is that Belgian force still not quite out of the way, John. So we've still got safety car lights on, and it's still going to be a little bit longer before they're released.
I think they want to be a bit careful. Oh, the wipers are going now, so suddenly... How did that happen? Well, you know, you could almost laugh at it if you didn't want to cry.
I know, it's not working out well. But there's the guy who should take over, the car that's leading. Marcus Winkelhock getting ready to take over from Mark Basseng. The clock is ticking away. We are getting to within 5 minutes now of the pit window opening up. I'm sure they'll be back at racing speed by the time it does. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of a breather for everybody. Lovely day. Everybody's enjoying the sunshine, the motorsport, the noise that these supercars deliver. An absolutely wonderful noise bursting through the woods here, reflecting off the trees, and everybody getting a lovely vantage point. As we've mentioned, you can get so close to the cars here. You get a great view of what's going on up close. Let's go down to the pits once again and hear now from Marcus Winkelhock.
Marcus, the question is, can you hold off the Corvette?
I hope so. I'll try. Or I hope that we have a good pit stop, and then I try just to do my best, trying to make some good laps in the race, and I think it's possible to win the race, but first of all we have to make a good pit stop, and then we will see.
Thank you.
It is important to make a pit stop because, John, whatever happens, even if the safety car comes in on the next lap, they're still going to be very bunched up together.
Well, they are, and they're going to have tyre pressures and tyre temperatures dropping. They've been 3 laps behind the safety car. We're coming closer within 4 minutes of the pit lane opening up. So drivers are going to have 2 things on their mind. One is concentrating on their car, and hopefully they may have had to go offline in some parts of the racetrack where vehicles were being removed or the track was being cleaned. So what state their tyres are in, let alone the temperatures or the pressures. And then thinking, well, am I going to be coming in the space of 2 or 3 minutes, or I'm going to hang out and maybe try and take advantage? At the same time, the field's been compacted. A lot's going on for each of these drivers in their respective cockpits.
Yeah, absolutely. At the back of the group, by the way, Darren Turner in his Aston Martin, who hasn't sort of made much progress, but of course with other cars dropping by the wayside, that Darren Turner Aston is now actually in 10th place. It's only the other Belgian racing Ford of Milos Pavlovic of the running cars that's behind him. So safety car lights are still on. I would think they may well be switched off on the next lap though, as Basseng leads Haseman's. It's Lamborghini, Corvette and Aston Martin still behind safety car. There in the background with the orange stripes is the Darren Turner Aston Martin, which will use the pit stops, I'm sure, as an attempt to try and gain some places, but it's the Hexis Aston Martin team that has been king of the pit stops so far this season.
Yes, and that Aston is not going to be an easy target for Darren Turner. They're all identical, these Aston Martins, and performance particularly on a track like this where you're not getting much chance to get a run at a car ahead of you. So Darren may just have to wait and hand over to Thomas Enge and hope that the young Aston team,
it is, of course.
Stefan Muka, that Stefan Muka can do something in the car after that pit stop.
Yep, so we'll have to wait and see. Yes, Thomas Enge, meanwhile, will take over the car that's running in third place. Winkelhock now ready, so he's all ready to go when the pit window opens. So 37 minutes to go in the race. At 35 minutes to go is when the pit window opens. Car's heading up through the short chicane at the moment. Now, what we'll watch for as he gets to the top end of the circuit is the lights going out on the top of the safety car. On board there briefly with Carl Wendlinger. The Lamborghini now up to fourth place, so potentially a podium finish. And you know what? This Swiss racing team scored more points in one event with their new Lamborghinis last time out at Abu Dhabi than they did in the whole of the last season when they were running the Nissan. So Carl Wendlinger here really getting to grips now with this Lamborghini Murcielago.
And what they're hoping to do with a little bit of a break between now and Portimao in Portugal is in fact to do some testing, because while the car that's leading and the car that's in fourth place look the same, there may be subtle differences, or maybe not even subtle differences, so in terms of damping and springing and other elements within the car. So they're hoping to get a little bit of track time to do some development work to get that car further up the grid in terms of pace.
Lights out on the safety car. We are getting ready to go here, and they will have to do at least one lap before the pit window opens, I think, because they're coming down to the pit area now. You can't come into the pits until the clock has gone past 35. The pace car comes in, and Marc Basseng now will get this race underway, and he's really got to put in a sprint now because he wants to try and pull away as much as possible before the pit window opens. And watch that Aston in third. Alex Muller could be on the attack of the Corvette in second place.
Well, Hazelman was a little bit compliant. I'd watch the Aston through turn one. If he can get himself right under the rear wing and have a look down the inside into turn two, no, he's not going to take the risk.
No, and he's got to be sensible because those pit stops are coming up next lap around for most of them. I wonder if anyone will decide to stay out there. The likelihood is most of them will come in. Maybe if they've got a teammate, one will come in and the other will stay out. But let's just see what's going on here as the Lambo getting away. This was before the restart, John. Oh, and the bunching up going on at the back of the queue there.
Well, motorway incident yet again. Everybody at the back not realising the cars ahead of them are actually slowing down before they would take that restart.
Great restart by Basseng. He's got that Lamborghini flying on the restart here. And once again, you've got a battle going on between Lucas Lohr, oh, somebody's locked up, and Maxime Martin in the Ford. You're looking back from that Ford at the moment as they come through the chicane, and it's all still very tight between the whole group of cars because of that safety car being out. The pit lane is going to be massively busy, I think, next time around, well, this time around, when they will be heading into the pits. And at the back of that group is the Belgian racing car of Milos Pavlovic. There's Marcus Winkelhock waiting to take over the lead car.
But is his teammate going to come in? He's on the brakes, he's not coming in.
Nope.
The Corvette's not coming in, the Aston's not coming in. Wendlinger is coming in, the first of those cars into the pit lane, and 2 follow.
Yeah, so Wendlinger comes in, so does Piccioni. The Hexis Aston Martin that makes those incredibly rapid pit stops has come in at the same time. Now then, it's Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Ford and Ford. Is it going to be the same order as they come back out? Darren Turner also in from the back of the group to hand over to Stefan Muka. He's right at the top of the pit, so he's already in his pit bay, but the Fords are right down this end, and so is the Hexis pit bay. That's right down at the far end.
And some of the co-drivers are actually standing in the pit lane waving to their car to indicate where they are. The Hexis team at the very bottom of the pit lane. So there we see them now finally doing the driver change. Car goes up.
That was late going up.
Yes, it was late going up. I'll say watch the Ford behind, because if the Ford can get ahead of the Aston in the pit stop, that would be a massive result.
Last year, this team were the fastest on their pit stops. They get away, but they've got the whole pit lane to go. How are the guys getting on at the other end of the pit lane? Nobody ready to go just yet. The Hexis, the Fords are down. Hexis have not had a good stop this time. The Ford is going to get out.
It's a Wendlinger car. That's the car that's come out ahead of all of these.
Yep.
The Ford, it was ahead on the track, but it's ahead now, also after the pit stop.
Swiss racing team doing a fantastic job to get Peter Cox out in the Wendlinger car. Look at it, and it's got a good advantage over those. So Hexis this time, but they still gained some places there, I think, the Hexis car, although remember they weren't right up with the leaders. Into the pits comes second place Corvette and the third place Aston now of Alex Muller to hand over to Thomas Enger. The other Hexis car of Hohenadel also in to hand over to Andrea Piccini.
The key is the lead car, Mark Bessing, still able to run in clean air, lap 1 minute 30.5, but he's been matched in fact by Lucas Luhr in the Nissan, in fact slightly bettered by Lucas Luhr in the Nissan and by Pavlovich, believe it or not, in the Belgian Ford, all running in the middle 1 minute 30s.
So in the battle for second place, at least for the moment, the Corvette and the Aston were closest coming into the pits. We've seen Swiss Racing put their Lamborghini out remarkably rapidly, and Peter Cox have gained the advantage. Here's Christian Hohenadel handing over to Andrea Piccini, and we've seen Hexis for once have a slightly poor stop, not their best anyway, last time with the Livio Piccioni car, but we'll wait to see what happens this time. This looks pretty effective this time.
I tell you, the guy on those tyres, let alone the guy on the wheel gun, they are athletes. They're all going to the gym and training. Watch, Corvette and Aston battle down the pit lane, but there's no contact. It gets on just ahead, and that is a disappointment for the Corvette.
Massive gain for the Hohenadel and Piccini car. Hexis have certainly done it with their other car here. Now look where they come out with relation to the other cars. They have come out in front of the Peter Cox Lamborghini, so that is an amazing stop, and all those guys have now basically become top three. So again, Hexis have done it, but they did it with their second best place car.
Lead car still stays on track.
That's
still
right.
lapping in the 1 minute 30.5s. Let's see this lap, has he been able to use that clear air to his advantage? Lucas Luhr behind, and the only Nissan in the race has been running equally quickly as the lead car.
A 1 minute 30.2 from Basseng, a 1 minute 30.1 for Lucas Luhr. So now it's down to the speed of these guys over the next couple of laps as to whether they'd still be in front of Basseng when he makes his pit stop. Hazeman's out of the Corvette and Katzberg now in it.
Katzberg putting a lot of pressure on Thomas Enger in the Aston Martin. Nicky Katzberg would like to put the Corvette ahead of the Aston. That's the positions they were before the pit stops.
Yeah, that's right. So let's see what happens here. Hazeman's will be disappointed that they've lost a place to the Aston, but he still gives us a smile anyway. And what's going to happen with regard to the Basseng Lamborghini when it does make it stop? That's going to be the big question. Will it come out ahead of these guys, in the middle of them, or where? Behind you got Peter Cox in the Lamborghini, and he's still being chased by the other Hexis car. And there's Stefan Mucker making a move.
Yeah, Mucker goes down the inside, but he's slightly compromised on the entry into the turn 15, but he compromises, gets out of the corner, and the Ford right under the rear wing looks to go down the outside the long way, but in no position to dive down the inside, which he needs to do to take the corner.
That's Bas Leinders in the Ford that he's racing with at the moment, just runs a touch wide, really pushing that car hard. Now then, Basseng, is he going to come into the pits this time? No, he's going to stay out for at least another lap. There's Lucas Luhr, who is going to come in and hand over to Michael Krum. Pavlovich stays out there, so that yellow Ford is now running in second place. These two cars have not yet stopped.
And Pavlovich doing a really good job. Has the second quickest lap of the cars that we have been watching in that lead group. So
but some of the others are down to the 29s now, John.
Fresh tyres. They've held back sets of tyres. They had a new set of tyres to put on. That's the reason why the lap times have dropped. That'll work for them for about 3 laps, then the tyre will then settle down into a more consistent pattern of the high 29s and low 30s.
So Andrea Piccini in the first of these Aston Martins as the pit stop for the Nissan, the sole remaining Nissan in this race, goes ahead, and JR Motorsport will be hoping that they get this car out cleanly, maybe gain a place or two before the end of the race.
Big question is, has the Bassinger car stayed out 1 lap too many?
Yep.
Have the Lucas Luhr Nissan got it spot on, because the lead cars are effectively coming through. No problem in the right rear.
Slightly slow, I think, on that right rear, were they? But they've now got it going. He fires up as the leaders come over the line.
No, there's been a losing situation for Nissan. There's effectively the first 3 going through. There's the Lamborghini effectively in 4th, the Aston 5th, and the Ford 6th. So that's been a bad drop, potentially drop from Lucas Luhr.
Yeah, let's see where he comes out here. There he comes out. Michael Krum now at the wheel, behind the Aston of Turner, and now Stefan Mucker, and in comes the race leader. Here we go, the crucial stop. I think it's going to take a massively quick stop from the Al-Inkle team.
And look at him, he's absolutely on the limit before he gets into the white line, down to 60 kilometres per hour. This is going to have to be a great clean pit stop, because one little error will see that lead that they've enjoyed evaporate.
So into the pits he comes. The Al-Inkle crew did an all-nighter last night to get the cars ready. Let's see whether they can get this car switched around fast. Bassing rolling onto the floor as Markus Winkelhock jumps aboard, and the guys go to work to switch all 4 tyres and see whether they can get out in front of this 3. This is the leading trio at the moment as it stands, but will this car come out ahead of them? Markus Winkelhock making sure he's fully strapped in there as they finish off. They've got all done, send him on his way, and the others have still got the final chicane to cope with.
But of course it's a long run down the pit lane at 60 kilometres per hour, where you see the sign saying 60. Now he can get on it, but has he done enough? Have the team done enough? Yes, in my opinion they have. They're going to consolidate the lead, but it's still a long pit lane exit. There you see turn 1, the exit of turn. The Lamborghini's got the lead.
Yeah, that's worked out perfectly for them. Markus Winkelhock has a healthy advantage over second place car of Andrea Piccini, the Aston Martin. There it is, car number 4. Then behind them is the other Aston Martin, the young driver car, now being driven by Thomas Enger. Right behind him is Nicky Katzberg. So for Al Inkel, they took the win in the qualifying race. Look at the response there from Mark Basseng, team manager for that team. Look how hard he's been working in that car, and he is over the moon about that performance from his guys to get them out ahead.
Well, he's obviously very happy indeed. Of course, disappointed that the sister car, the car of Dominic Schwager and Nicky Pastorelli, it didn't even make a lap before it went out. When these two Al Inkel Lamborghinis ought to be running effectively 1-2. They've got the pace here at Zandvoort, and they've done a stunning job in the pit to get the Basseng Winkelhock car in and out and gain. They must have gained the best part of 5 seconds in that pit stop.
Here at Zandvoort, John, I think we've got the wrong Z there.
Zandvoort to Zolder.
The other Z. We're at Zolder, we're not on the
In fact,
beach.
it's not anything like 5 seconds. It looked like it at one point. It's probably about 2 and a bit seconds. But
so, now look at this, little bit of a race going on here as Michael Krum trying to make a move on the Belgian Racing Ford, which is getting very, very defensive in front of him. I wonder if he's going to be able to find a way through here or not.
well, they were ahead of this car before the pit stop, but that pit
The contact there between the 2 cars. Martin Matzke now in the car, who's under suspension or under observation because he's on a suspended sentence. Oh, and he goes across the gravel. He's got to get the place up now.
Yes, and not only has he get it's going to be, his tyres are completely choked full of the gravel, and there was a contact coming up into turn 15. Lucas Luhr had the momentum. Lucas Luhr was ahead of that Ford going into the pit stops. Let's look again and see under brakes. Squirming, no contact as such there, just the Ford running a little bit too deep and too wide, couldn't get the corner, had to run over the gravel, then loses the performance off the corner, and it's just a simple pass for Michael Krum in the Nissan.
Yeah, so the one remaining Nissan still in there, but it's down in 10th place. It's still not a very good day for Nissan, and there's some glum faces down there, but it's looking much better for Al Inkel with the lead, but that lead, if anything, just being narrowed slightly on this lap. You know, the Aston Martin of Andrea Piccini is flying a 1:29.3 on the last lap. Markus Winkelhock might be in the lead of this race, but he might still also have his work cut out. The pit window is now closed, but everybody has made their pit stop.
Well, he's coming up to the completion of his first flying lap, so we'll get an indication. The following 4 cars all lapping almost identically in the 1:29s, and I would expect the Winkelhock will be very quickly into that time. Otherwise, he'll be just engulfed by the following 4.
On board with Fred McAvicky in the number 41 Ford. Didn't really win much in the terms of the pit stops there, John, this car, because they find themselves down in 7th. So really didn't take any advantage at all, but he is tucked in behind Stef Dusseldorf, championship leader, along with Clivio Piccioni coming into this event. The car that won in Abu Dhabi, that's the car right in front of you now as you go through turn 1.
Well, it's Fred McAvicky we know was very, very, I mean, I've been very impressed, particularly in the Ford GT, knowing that he did strong work for the Hexus Aston Martin team last year. But the same problem, we know that the Ford is superb handling. Maybe it hasn't got the out-and-out grunt that some of the other cars, the V12 Aston just ahead, may have.
Yeah, that's right, up onto the back stretch. It looks very even, in fact, between these 2 cars as you watch that gap. Not really changing very much at any section. Down under hard braking here through the left and right of the short chicane. Try not to use the curbs too much, because as Thomas Enger was saying to me, if you clip the curb, then the wheel's in the air, you're not putting the power down, you lose time here. It's all about putting the power down out of these chicanes, and with wheels in the air, you're not going to do it.
Well, that was a bit clumsy for the Aston, clumping over the middle of the Villeneuve chicane, but gets away with it. And of course, round 2 through turn 11, not a lot you can do other than hopefully get a better exit on the run down to turn 12, but nowhere near position to try and dive down the inside and dive bomb the Aston.
Let's just listen to that V8 engine on board this Ford for a moment and go quiet while it does its work. Mistake there. This is going to be capitalised on by Fred McAvicky. Can he get past the Aston Martin? They're going to be side by side, and the other Aston is right in there as well. Stefan Mucker's on the left. Watch out for Mucker, he's there too. And through goes, oh, he slid from too wide. The Aston Martin almost in the gravel, and all three of them are still absolutely together. Now Stefan Mucker's going to try and go down the inside, and he does it.
Yeah, he was in the right part of the racetrack. The Ford made an error in the chicane, trying to get back now at Stefan Mucker. That's no easy task, but the two Astons get through cleanly, really forcing the Ford into that error prior to coming onto the pit straight.
Well, Darren Turner there watching Stefan Mucker make a place or two as he comes around, so at least they're getting something out of this. One place he's gained out of that. Still 22 minutes to go. So the first Aston really survived all that, because I thought that Aston was going to lose out to the Ford, but he didn't. He covered that, and it was Mucker who took advantage.
Yeah, but it was basically the Ford was boxed in, an Aston to the left and Aston ahead. Tries to get up the outside going into turn 2, but Mucker able to run the Aston into the corner on the brakes, gets off them very quickly. There you see, that was on board with the Ford. In fact, the Aston you can see how it got out of shape as well. That actually caused, in effect, the McAvicky Ford to lose some of its ground, and then you got Mucker coming down. There he is, dive bombs through and almost overruns the corner. McAvicky comes back, but really hasn't got the power to do anything more than put himself to the left of the racetrack.
So the leaders cross the line. Marcus Winkelhock has a 1.5 second advantage. Good lap from Winkelhock then, a 129.6 on his new tyres, whereas the others are down to 130.0. So it's Winkelhock lead, Piccini in the Aston Martin second, Enger in another Aston in third, Katzberg in the Corvette is in fourth place, Cox is in fifth in the Lamborghini, sixth place is another Aston Martin, the car of Stef Dusseldorf. Then it's Stefan Mucker in another Aston Martin, he's running in seventh.
But Fred McAvicky, running an 8th, is not very happy about losing 2 positions to those 2 Aston Martins, and in fact is probably able to run quicker, run the corners. But where he is losing out is on these runs, these relatively short straights between a quick corner turn 4 and this S's as 5 and 6.
Yeah, so can he find a way to get on terms? And remember, the tyre wear will become a little bit more of a factor as the clock continues to tick away. First set of tyres didn't have to work so hard because they were under safety car so much. This set of tyres is likely to have to work a lot harder. You're riding with Stefan Mucker here, also under observation for the next few events as a result of that incident in the first corner yesterday, and a suspended 5 grid place penalty imposed on him by the stewards after that. So he's got to keep his nose clean a little bit in this contest, and he's in obviously the same kind of car as the one he's racing against, the front engine Aston Martin DB9, exactly the same as the car just ahead. But there's the race leader, and Marcus Winkelhock. Let's see, the gap was 1.5 seconds, and I think he's opening it up, 1.9 seconds now back to that Aston Martin driven by Andrea Piccini.
Well, everything's settling down fairly comfortably to the advantage of the Lamborghini, and all that work was the response to a great pit stop, getting out. In fact, he stayed out an extra 3 laps over the cars that were behind who came in earlier, but they made it work. They took advantage of the clear air, but the point was they made sure they didn't stay out longer than they needed to or could have done, because those cars that had stopped and put on fresh rubber were lapping quicker. So it was a very crucial switch over to staying out or coming in.
I tell you what though, once again Hexis Aston Martin have done an amazing job with the number 4 car, because if you remember, that was the car that led the qualifying race yesterday. Had an incident, crashed out in a battle for the lead, had to start towards the back of this race, and a lot of their gain in this race. It's been good driving, but it's also been an incredibly good pit stop. So Hexis might not have got it quite so fast on their other car, but on the number 4 car, which is currently in second, still brilliant. Let's ride on board the Corvette. Let's listen to the engine noise a little bit in the front engine Corvette with its deeper rumble. Lovely noise there from the Corvette, very different sound indeed to the more screaming V12 of the Aston Martin, and the Corvette still putting that Aston under serious pressure here.
Yeah, I think in fact coming through those final turns, it looked like the Corvette was marginally quicker through the corner, but particularly on the exit. So Thomas Enger has got, and again, pressure coming from young Nicky Katzberg.
Further back, still got a battle between Bas Liners and Michael Krum now, who has caught in the Nissan. So down there at Hexes, there's Christian Hohenadel, who's on target for a second-place finish here. That's why he's smiling so much. Mike Hasemans, though, still on for a fourth-place finish in the Corvette, which would be a pretty solid weekend for them. Maybe more than that, because his teammate there, Nicky Katzberg, is definitely chasing down Thomas Enger, and Enger's going to have to think about this.
Yeah, I think Thomas is going to have to keep his head both forehead, looking ahead, but keeping an eye on the Corvette, because it clearly has got certain parts of the track where it is quicker than the Aston.
Looking at some pit stops there, you can see the pit stops from Winkelhock. That was a good pit stop. They came in later than some of the others, of course, and the Aston Martins as well. So yeah, interesting to see the little difference between them. Perhaps not such a big difference as we saw in Abu Dhabi, but Hex is still putting off a very, very quick pit stop indeed. So there in the middle of this little group, Stefan Mucker just a bit wide, under pressure there from Fred Makovic once again. As you said earlier, John, Makovic might have lost that place, but he wants it back pretty hard.
And I'm wondering just how much grip Stefan Mucker has got.
Yeah.
Because he looks to me, under braking into those chicanes, to be struggling in comparison to the Ford running directly behind. The trouble we know is that the Ford is going to get dragged, outgunned when it comes to these straights. This is the pit straight running down to turn one. So he's got to find somewhere on the track where he can use his momentum to put himself alongside or get ahead of the Aston. But Mucker is no easy punter to do that with.
No, that's right, and it's not going to be very easy for Fred Makovic, but he's still running in a reasonably safe 8th. There's no one that close behind him, so he can afford to perhaps try a few little moves and see what happens. The gap back to Bas Liners and Michael Krum is a couple of seconds, so he doesn't have to worry too much about that. Meanwhile, everybody finding a way to enjoy the afternoon's activities. Oil flag being shown at the chicane, that could be tricky.
Well, that's either oil or it's something on the track. We don't know anybody's been losing, or we're not seeing any indication, but they will put that flag out if somebody's shortcutted and dragged a load of muck and rubbish onto the racetrack.
Yes, and you can see a little bit of debris by the side of the road through the Villeneuve chicane. Fastest lap for Stefan Mucker now, 1:29.057, which was set a few laps ago, but the best of the tyres obviously passed. He's still going quickly, but he can't quite get on terms with the other Aston right in front of him.
No, and Stefan Mucker, you can see, going very defensive as he comes into turn 12, not allowing the Ford any opportunity to take the centre of the road and put himself alongside coming into turn 12.
Across the line come the leaders once again, just over quarter of an hour to go in the championship race from Zolder. Race leader is the Alinkel Lamborghini of Marcus Winkelhock. Andrea Piccini in the Hexus Aston Martin second, Enger third, and then Katzberg fourth. The Lamborghini, Peter Cox in fifth. There's the 6th place car of Düsseldorf, still under quite a lot of pressure from Stefan Mucker and Fred Makovic right behind. No change at the moment between that little group. And there's Peter Cox. A little bit of a lonely race now for Peter Cox in the Lamborghini, but nonetheless some useful points for him and Wendlinger if they simply stay where they are now. 5th place, keeping their noses clean, staying out of trouble, and that could be very useful at this early stage of the season.
Well, what they're going to look forward to is this next break, where they will have time to test the car. They know the pace of these Lamborghini Murcielagos because they've seen them win in Abu Dhabi, seen potentially win here in Zolder, and they want to get the Swiss Racing Team car to that level, and that's what they're hoping to do.
So there's the Corvette, still keeping the pressure on. Nicky Katzberg not far behind Thomas Enger's Aston Martin, and Enger there again. We're just looking at the pit stop times there on our board. So actually the lead car, John, the Alinkel team at 49 seconds, that's pit in to pit out, had the same pit stop time as the almighty Hexis team with their number 4 car. So we've been going on and on about how good Hexis are, but I tell you what, Alinkel delivered the same speed pit stop today.
I mean, there are other teams who are doing really, really good job in the pit lane. We just have focused on Hexus because it worked for them so well in Abu Dhabi, and that's why that car with Steph Druffendorf, thank you very much, Alex Muller, how they got the lead. They literally jumped 5 cars in that pit stop.
5 seconds faster than the next best, which is interesting, the young driver team with the number 7 car. So you can see that in this style of racing with the 2 mechanics at work, there is a lot of potential for gain or loss. Back on board with Fred Makovic, but the Alinkel team doing a great job. And by the way, they wanted to say a quick hello to one of their guys, Martin, who's recovering after a little bit of an injury last time in Abu Dhabi. Watching this at home, well, I should think he's loving it because the team are putting on a tremendous performance. There's Maxime Martin, co-driver, of course, to Fred Makovic, hoping that that Ford, there it is, the back of the group there, is going to be able to try and reclaim a place or two from those Aston Martins. And again, the back end of the Aston of Stefan Mucker looked a little wayward there.
It's been looking that way, I think, for the last 5 or 6 laps. I think Mucker's really, well, he's trying to attack the Aston ahead. He's having to really be ultimately more defensive because he knows that Fred Makovic is driving very, very well indeed in the Ford GT. And any error that Mucker might get involved with, we'll see the Ford all over the Aston.
Bas Linder still fending off Michael Krum at the back of this group of runners. Behind them, we've still got the Belgian Racing Ford of Martin Matzke running in 11th, but some way behind these guys. And Michael Krum, no doubt aware that he's the only Nissan still running in this race, won't want to take a huge punt in trying to get past the Ford, but nonetheless looks as though he might have a little bit more performance. And there are still just over 12 minutes to go, and who knows what can happen in that time.
Well, this is what's going to happen. Right under the rear wing of Mucker's Aston Martin. He's going to have a little look down the inside, but again, it's just the sheer speed of the Aston down the straight is too much for the Ford to enable it to look down the inside. And of course, Mucker will not make it easy. We know that he's one of the more combative drivers out in the field, so he will defend as hard as he attacks. Yeah, lovely view from the onboard, though, of that Aston Martin, really losing a little bit of rear end grip, and you can sort of feel Stefan Mucker hanging on to it a little bit now. He's going to try sooner than later because he's getting ever closer to the back of the Aston Martin. Can't do it up the hill into turns 5 and 6, this is chicane, and really it's going to be 1 or 2 parts in the circuit. I think turn 12 is one of them. The other one is going to be into turn 2. These GT1 cars, John, they do produce quite a lot of downforce for a GT car, so you will lose a little bit, presumably, when you're following closely like this. And look how close he is coming out of turn 9. Gone running up through 10 and into turn 11. It's here if he can get sufficiently close, but Mucker is very clever. Mucker puts his car in the middle of the racetrack to deny the run down the inside. Makovic looks at it, he hasn't got the space, and he's not far enough ahead anyway. Maybe judging the braking grip that is down on that inside line, maybe getting a feel for is there much grip, because that's not the usual line. Sometimes you can find it a lot more slippery. But if anything, those 3 cars are even closer together as they come back past us this time. So it's still sitting in 5th place, Düsseldorf in the Aston. 6th is Mucker, sorry, 7th is Mucker, and then behind him it is Fred Makovic. There's Darren Turner still keeping a close eye on proceedings as they come down through the first turn. Makovic holding on to 8th place. Bas Linus is in 9th, and Michael Krum still holding on to 10th position. Well, Maxime Martin jumped out of the number 41 Ford earlier on. I wonder what he makes of Fred's attempts here. Let's hear from him.
Maxime, where would you say is going to be the best place for Fred to overtake?
Oh, it's not a good place because, okay, we start with all tires. It was not easy. But in the race, it's impossible for us to pass because with the engine we are really limited, and there are too much power for us, so it's really difficult during the race.
Thank you.
Well, it's all about balance of performance, John, and for all the cars to be fairly even, what ends up happening is that Ford, which is a very well-balanced chassis, probably has to give away a little bit in terms of horsepower to cars like the Aston Martin, and that's, as Maxime was confirming exactly what you were saying, that's Fred's problem here in trying to get past. Yes, I mean, the Ford is the better chassis ultimately. The Aston's got that little bit more power, particularly at the top end, so that gives it the advantage on the straight bit. And the trouble is for Frederick Makovic is that it's a frustration. He's working all the time, particularly in the parts of the circuit where the Ford's got its strengths, but he's not getting any of the rewards from those strengths. That's right, so he's going to have to pick his moment, if at all. It's going to have to definitely be a sort of cheeky move under braking if he's going to find a way through. And does he risk that, as you say, against a man as combative as we know Stefan Mucker to be? 9 minutes to go. The time definitely ticking away now into the final stages of the race here at Zolder, and no change at the moment as Makovic again closes up to the back of the Aston. For me, turn 2, if he's going to make a move, it's going to be there, because I think he's looking at the speed of the Aston off turn 1, where the Aston puts itself in terms of the track going up to turn 2, and he is keen, very keen indeed, to split these 2 Aston Martins. So let's see, as he continues continues down towards this next chicane. No space to get down the inside. Is the other car getting a bit closer behind, the other Ford? I get the feeling, you know, the Bas Linders and Michael Krum, their little battle, is sort of bringing them a little closer to this.
Well, I think the Stefan Mucker, although it doesn't appear so as we come into the Villeneuve chicane, but the gap between the Aston ahead of Mucker and the Ford looks like the Ford is going to do something. Certainly shortly, in my opinion. Can't do much out of turn left because the aero effect comes in and it lets the front of the Ford's nose run wide. But Aston having to it's a defensive drive from Stefan Mucker.
It is defensive, and I'm back on board the Ford as he changes up through the gears, up from first, second, third, fourth, fifth along the straight here, and then it's hard on the brakes. These brakes taking a real pounding around this track. The carbon disc, carbon pad setup. Meanwhile, there's the race for third. Still Thomas Enger in the white Aston Martin up against the brightly coloured Team Exim China Bank Corvette. And this car of Nicky Katzberg has really hounded the Aston Martin for a number of laps. And again, on that last lap, as you can see on the graphic, he was a tenth, nearly 2/10 of a second faster.
But you know, so much experience in the hands of Thomas Enger. He knows how to deal with that pressure. He knows how to run a car, which may not be as quick as the car that's chasing, but you know, it's not about quickness. It's about simply being able to run your position and defend it. But the battle behind between the two Astons and the Ford, it's getting in Mucker in the middle of these three cars, under pressure all the way. Can't afford to take his eyes off the Ford. At the same time, he must not allow the Ford to get into his head any more than presently it is doing.
That's right. Up front, by the way, I can tell you Marcus Winkelhock's now opened up nearly 5-second advance. Oh, somebody's had a spin. That's one of the Fords. Is that was Macavicki, or is it Linders? No, it's Bas Linders. Okay, it's Bas Linders who was catching that group.
Yeah, but also that was the battle that was going on with Michael Krum. Remember, Krum and that Ford were having a battle, so maybe that's the consequence of the battle.
So, as I say, nearly 5 seconds the advantage now for Marcus Winkelhock leading this race. Second place still Andrea Piccini. Third is Enger. Fourth is Katzberg in the Corvette. There's Peter Cox in the Lamborghini number 5. And then still this trio of cars. Stef Dusseldorf, winner from Abu Dhabi, chased by Stefan Mucker and Fred Macavicki. Michael Krum now is the next car to join in, because this car had that spin of Bas Linders, so he's now joined the back of the queue once again.
You can see there's rubber marks on the door of that Ford. I don't think that's a wheel mark. There'd be more of a mark if there was. Let's watch and see what Macavicki can do this time out of turn one. Can he have a dive down the inside? He's going to have to do something dramatic. I mean, he's not close enough, but you can sense that he wants to take the risk, to take the punt down the inside. But knowing Stefan Mucker, there will be no mercy. He will slam that door.
Yeah, and points, of course, are on offer here, and to throw some away in the closing stages of the race would be a pretty miserable thought. Let's go down to the pits here from Mike Hazemans now.
Mikey had a great stint. You certainly put it in a great position for Nicky. He's fighting hard out there to hold on to his position now.
Yeah, we know the car was really good, but the Lambo was just too fast. But then I think second would be possible. But then we lost out one place at the pit stop, and Enger just overtook him immediately on the first corner. So that was a pity, but maybe he can get third place. That would be nice.
Thank you.
It would be nice, but let's see what happens here. Still just 5 minutes to go, and the Corvette on the last couple of laps has been nearly 2/10 faster than the Aston Martin. So it's got the pace, but can it find the space that it needs to squeeze alongside on this relatively narrow Zolder circuit?
Well, it's going to take a bit special out of the final turn, down into turn one, but it wasn't good enough. Thomas Enger, neat, tidy, gets on the power, gets the drive, keeps the gap. Now into turn one itself. Let's see what happens on the exit. Aston looks good. Well, the back end just broke away, but nothing that really determined or was detrimental to its progress. But here again, are we going to see another dive bomb into turn two? Closer this time than previously. Goes up on the inside, but not close enough.
No, backs out of it and doesn't actually get into the apex because he just knew there wasn't enough space. So he decided against it on that one and continues to follow the back of that Aston Martin, which he's now had a view of for a good long time in this race, but it's not going to be for that much longer because the checkered flag is coming out in just over 4 minutes. Here we go.
But Michael Krum's all over the back of the Ford. All of a sudden, the Nissan has joined into a three-car battle, and now Macavicki's not got to worry about trying to find a way past the Aston. He's got to think about, how do I stop Michael Krum and the Nissan using me as the platform to springboard ahead. Three cars nose to tail.
Mucker again a little bit sideways through the chicane. Again, he just about gets the car off the corner quickly enough, and Makovicky tries to follow but loses a bit of front end downforce. Mucker going defensive. He realised that he wasn't as quick that time, but in fact, again, Makovicky wasn't quite there. You're looking back from Makovicky at Krum, who, as you say, John, has closed right up in the last couple of laps, although now suddenly it's Makovicky on the attack. Now he's got a good run down towards the Jackie Ick chicane. Is he going to make the move? No, again he can't do it. Still not close enough to get there under brakes.
So all the work he's done on that previous lap didn't do him very much good, but again, under the rear wing of the Aston, down into turn one. It's going to be difficult to do it because the strength of the Aston is its straight line speed, and the Nissan closes down. He will have a look again on the exit of turn one. Watch where Stefan Mucker puts the Aston Martin. Can he get down the inside? He's going to have a look at it this time. Is it for real?
No, not there, but watch out for
Nissan.
Michael Krum, because he took a really deep approach to that corner to try and take advantage. Not quite there though, certainly not close enough into turn four, and again it's stalemate in this battle that's going on for 7th place, as Stefan Mucker just manages to hang on to it here, and now Makovicky really defending from Michael Krum.
Indeed, and again, the Nissan, we know, probably the most powerful car in the field, and it's a slight incline up to turns 5 and 6. So Makovicky, all his concentration had previously been on the Aston of Stefan Mucker ahead of him. Now he's got to think about Michael Krum. He's got a German behind, a German ahead, and Frank Makovicky from France. Don't know what he's thinking right now.
Yeah, look how the Nissan has been able to catch on certain laps 0.6 of a second faster on a couple of the laps, although he's just dropped back again now. The brakes are taking a hammering. We're into the closing stages of the race, and brakes are certainly a little bit marginal in terms of temperature here. They should be okay, but again, Makovicky closes up to the back. They've got the other Astons still ahead of them, and again, no chance for Makovicky here.
Depending at what point they come across the start-finish line, this will be the penultimate lap they're going on to. We think because they'll come across with about 5 or 6 seconds before their normal lap time. So should one more. This should be the penultimate lap.
Now, what's going on here? Suddenly, Peter Cox has caught the back of Nicky Katzberg for 4th. The Lamborghini, a little bit like it did in the qualifying race. I don't know whether that's come alive. No, it looks more like the Corvette has lost time. Oh yeah, look at those.
Yeah,
look at the comparisons.
It's lost almost 3 seconds to the Lamborghini in the space of those last 3 laps. So whether there is obviously a problem for Nicky Katzberg in the Chevrolet Corvette, and Peter Cox in the Lamborghini thinking, well, maybe I can have a go at taking 4th place.
Well, he's got a little bit of time, but not much, as you say. I think they'll go on to the last lap next time around, so he's going to have to be pretty quick. Then you look back behind them, there's Dusseldorp still in the Aston Martin ahead of Stefan Mucker, Makovicky and Michael Krum. No change once again as they plunge down the hill towards the Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, Dusseldorp has managed to get enough of an advantage. Stefan Mucker really having to defend against the Ford with the Nissan all over the back of the Ford. Michael Krum, there is the lead car comfortably now by some 7+ seconds.
Yeah, it's a big advantage for Marcus Winkelhock over Andrea Piccini in 2nd place. Then Enger, who's now got that little bit of a gap. It's Cox in the Lamborghini, looking a little bit at the back, just nibbling the rear bumper of the Corvette, but not quite close enough to get alongside it. And they go round for one more lap, so we'll get one more lap out of them. We're on to the last lap now as Mucker and Makovicky come through as well. What a race of frustration this has been for Makovicky. He hasn't been able to do anything about it, but what an amazing event this has been for Al Inkel with this car, John, number 38. It didn't pull. Oh, there's Cox having a little look of getting past the Corvette. Didn't occur. But coming back to the leading car, John, didn't qualify very well. They had a great first race. Marcus Winkelhock picked his way through the incident at the first corner. They went on to win the qualifying race, their first ever victory as a team, and now it looks like they're going to do the double.
Well, it's been a very comfortable win in effect for Marcus Winkelhock and for Bassing in this car. They basically led from the start and just really did all they had to do. There is a very happy team principal, team manager as well as driver.
Yep, the team owner is René Munich, who is not here this weekend, but he's watching. Look at the anxiety for Marc Bassing. Are they going to hold on for victory? They've got such a comfortable lead, and surely the Lamborghini in the white, black and red colours, the number 38 car, driven by former DTM racer Marcus Winkelhock, is going to come through the last chicane here. It is going to be a double victory this weekend at Zolder for Al Inkel and the number 38 car, Bassing and Marcus Winkelhock. Winkelhock at the wheel as he crosses the line. Winkelhock punches the air. What a dominant display. A brilliant pit stop as well. Good strategy too. Second place goes to Andrea Piccini for Hexis Racing with Christian Hohenadel. A fine finish for them. And third goes to the Aston Martin of Alex Muller and Thomas Enger. And across the line, Cox gets it on the line by a fraction of a second. Peter Cox takes fourth.
What's happening behind those Aston Martins and the Ford GT and the Nissan? Waiting to see those cars come across the line, but what a position to take, literally on the last corner run down to the start-finish line.
And Hexis Racing are celebrating once again as they got another podium finish in a championship race, this time for Piccini and Hohenadel. Their brilliant pit stop, but matched in pit stop terms by this team, by Alinkel, and that was a remarkably accomplished performance by team and drivers. A stunning all-round performance. Well, a fantastic race weekend, but none better than for Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock.
Congratulations, Marcus. You said the pit stop was so important, and the team certainly delivered on that.
Absolutely, yeah. First of all, I have to say really thank you to the team, because the pit stop is very important in this race, and it was a fantastic pit stop. The car was really good from the first lap until the last lap on. It was just great, and I'm just happy. I don't know what to say.
And Mark, what an awesome weekend it's been for the team.
Yeah, it's incredible, incredible. Our first win now in the championship race. I never expect that, you know, last year it was so hard, and this year it's starting so well, and I hope we can continue. But with this teammate, I'm sure we can, definitely.
Thank you.
Well, it is developing into a great relationship. Of course, Marcus Winkelhock, son of Manfred Winkelhock, a great racing family, and it's lovely to see him a winner in a World Championship event here today, John.
Yeah, and you can see genuine joy. I mean, when you get a partnership where two drivers work harmoniously, it isn't always the case with teammates. Sometimes they're a little bit too individually minded, but there appear to me two drivers who do work as a team.
The winning margin, nearly 10 seconds for Basseng and Winkelhock in their Lamborghini. Aston Martins followed them home, the Hexis car of Hohenadel and Piccini, and then the young driver entry of Muller and Enger. But a Lamborghini snatching fourth at the end there as Peter Cox just got the margin over the Corvette of Hazemans and Katzberg. Two more Aston Martins showing the strength of the DB9 in this year's championship. Piccioni and Dusseldorf 6th, Turner and Mucker from the back finished 7th. And then the Fords, which had a really disappointing time, but not as bad a time as Nissan. Only one car home for Nissan, the car of Luhr and Krum, all the way down in 9th. Henrici and Leinders finished in 10th place. Pavlovic and Matska finished in 11th. And then a long list of retirements, headed by the Nissan of Dumbreck and Westbrook. And then a bunch of cars that went out pretty early on, classified still though 13th, the Besch and X4. But we lost other Nissans, of course. We lost the Corvette of Rossi and Camara as well, and the Lamborghini of Schwager and Pastorelli. So what a day, what a weekend's racing. I think certainly the qualifying race threw everything at us. We had all sorts of drama. This race settled down a little bit more, there's no denying that, but the Alinkel team have shown everybody now that they have the capacity to win races. Last year they were in position to do well, but something always went wrong. Procedurally they made a few mistakes, but it is a very young team. It was set up purely for the first series of GT1 last year, and they've learned from their mistakes, and you've seen how much they've improved.
And it's the Dominic Schwager, Nicky Pastorelli car that probably is the quicker of the two.
Yeah.
And we've yet to see that really, you know, get some value out of its performance.
In the points, this is how they leave Zolder then. With 49 points, the advantage to Basseng and Winkelhock is some 13 points over Dusseldorf and Piccioni, who led after the first event. Hohenadel and Piccini have got the other Hexis Aston up there, and that's very impressive. So let's go and take a look at the podium celebrations, which are beginning already. Up there on the podium already is Enger and Muller, third place. Hohenadel and Piccini just stepped up to second place. But let's now see Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock take the top step, and just look at what it means to Marc Basseng, team manager for that outfit as well as driver. And now they have come home with 2 victories this weekend and the maximum point score of 33.
Thank you.
So the German anthem playing out for Basseng and Winkelhock, and well, just look at the face of Marc Basseng. It says it all, doesn't it? René Munich, who runs that, or owns the team, I should say, John, who basically put Marc Basseng as his team manager. When they put the team together, he said, well, what about not just driving for me, but managing the team as well? And seems to have been a pretty good choice, doesn't it?
It's a very good choice. It's very difficult for a driver to carry the responsibility of the team as well as doing his own driving responsibilities in the car. But some drivers have got that capacity, and others, they will never ever be able to do anything than get into the car and shut the lights down and drive.
Well, it certainly looks as though Basseng's got the multitasking role down to a fine art at the moment, taking victory here and making them very, very most of it. You do, as you say, have to feel for their teammates who've been so fast throughout the series, but they just can't get a finish.
No, but that is the car. Fundamentally, that is the quicker of the two cars. And we've seen those that get pole position run half a second quicker than the rest of the field in practice sessions, but when it comes to the results, it comes to the race, either they go out in the first corner or they go out in the fifth corner because of something else.
Yeah, just not getting around to complete a lap. Champagne shower time, and the girls quickly getting out of the way as the drivers go mad with the champagne, and they're going to be celebrating deep into the night. I mentioned earlier that the Alencourt crew did an all-nighter last night, so well, there's nothing better when you've worked all night and feeling pretty rubbish the next day to welcome a victory, and no doubt it might be an all-nighter again tonight, I should think, in celebration this time.
But that'll be more joyous, no doubt, and once the guys get the cars all packed up and into the transporter, it'll be dispatched back to the base. Then the team members can have a relaxing evening. Hopefully they don't OD, but they've got to think forward now to Portimao. It's not that long down the road, and that's an entirely new challenge, and what a wonderful circuit that is. I was there last year for my first role within GT1, and what a fantastic racetrack it is. Talk about ups and downs.
In the Teams Championship, Hexis, no surprise there because they've had two good events, are leading on 66, but Alencourt have now caught up a little bit on 49 points. Young Driver on 43, only 6 behind. JR Motorsports are on 30, then Swiss Racing Team followed by Mark VDS, Exim Bank Team China with that Corvette, and Sumo Power GT as well.